Are we live? Do we have an audience?
Oh, we just got on.
Someone say, hi, Richard.
Hello.
Oh, you are right on it, young man. So proud of you.
Hola, Richard.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for joining us.
So, welcome to Conversations with Ajusta Tu Corona, where we discuss achievement, tenacity, and courage subjects. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about domestic violence, and today is going to be the last of the series, the last episode of that series. We're going to move on to a self-love in the next series. So we just wanted to talk about dating after abuse. We've talked about children in abusive relationships, how to see the signs of an abusive relationship, our backgrounds with abuse. So now we want to talk about dating. And dating after being in an abusive relationship can be very nerve-wracking. It's complicated. You experienced abuse. You might have more trouble connecting emotionally with potential partners. You might have a hard time trusting people, or you might feel like your ideas of what is healthy and unhealthy in a relationship is warped. Those are all normal feelings. Don't feel like there's something wrong with you. It's absolutely normal. There are five subjects that we want to talk about, five topics regarding dating after abuse. They are: move on before you start something new, educate yourself, trust your instincts, practice safe dating, and take things slow. We cannot express that enough. So move on before you start. It's because when you leave behind a physical relationship, you still have the emotional scars with you. So you need to find some way to heal them and cope with them before you experience something in the future. You have to cope with what was in the past. And the way to do this is you can find a therapist, you can find a life coach. There's a lot of self-care is the number one thing that you want to practice when learning to cope with these issues. And one of the things is to try to cut all ties with the abuser. This can be very difficult if you have children. What we suggest is that if there are children involved, come to an agreement where you can meet at a local place or have someone in the home when he comes to pick up the child, or meet at McDonald's and hand the child over. You want to be in a public place because you don't want him to take advantage of you again once you were able to get away from him. The next thing that we want to talk about before we even move on to that, what do you guys feel about having to face that partner who was abusive towards you all this time? Like, how, I mean, it's hard.
You're asking me?
I'm asking you guys, yeah.
I can start. Again, facing the person that abused you, meaning in the future.
In the future, like after you have children, after you've moved on.
Honestly, in my shoes, I love it. I love for them to see that even though they probably mentally, were not okay, and they didn't intentionally do it to hurt you, right, in the long run. Because I did find out he is a bipolar and schizo. So it's not to rub it in their face, but it's kind of to like say, you didn't break me. You didn't. Here I am, more blessed, more motivated, overcame the abuse and that darkness. And he came forward and apologized years later. And I don't think that was closure for me in order for me to move on, but it felt really good. It gave me more peace. Yes.
When I faced my abuser, I didn't want to go anywhere near him. I was living in my parents' home, and if he wanted to see his son, he had to come to my parents' home. Once I tried to go see, once he asked me to bring him my child, I went to see him and he tried to get abusive again. So after that, I was like, nope. He wants to see him, he has to come to my parents' house. The next thing that we want to talk about is educating yourself. How do you educate yourself before you move on? Francia?
Definitely, like you mentioned, seek those that know better than you at that time. So mentors, your tribe, coaching, definitely write down what you don't want and what you do want in your next relationship. Take that time to talk to God, the universe, however you manifest your affirmations, and write them down and just tell them to yourself every day. What is it that you want in a man, in your partner, and practice it. Practice it with yourself, right? First, treat yourself how you want to be treated. Treat others how you want to be treated, and love will come.
Mm-hmm. When educating, last week we discussed the red flags and recognizing domestic violence. So in educating, we ask that you are very aware of those red flags. And then what do you want out of a future relationship? You can be confused with your emotions. So sit down and write what you think a healthy relationship is versus a non-healthy relationship, and write down positive traits that you would like in your next partner, so that when you start to date, if you feel that the person is off or they're not matching the traits that you want in your new relationship, you want to make sure that you kind of stay away from them.
Absolutely. I think if you've been in an abusive relationship, I think you need to seek some type of professional help. Go seek a chapter out that offers counseling for domestic violence. Even if it never went into the court system, if you got out before anything big ever happened, you still need to surround yourself with people who are very familiar with what you went through. Family's good, but they don't always give you the right advice. I think you need to really go and find out the why so that you can discharge the guilt and the shame and the self-doubt, because we all gain that, right? We all gain that with certain circumstances. So the educating yourself is many layers or different layers, but just gravitate towards the person that's going to feed your spirit what it needs to know, so that you can know how to find traits in your future mate.
Yes.
You're not going to leave a relationship and not seek any kind of help and then know exactly what you want, because we all need like a stepping stone. Anything to reach success, we have to always climb, what is they call it, escalone. And that's how it is when you're seeking help to heal, because heal is messy, so you need guidance. So I encourage people to get some type of guidance. If they don't want family to know, then go to the YMCA. They have a lot of programs out there that are free.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
totally agree.
Mm-hmm. And like we say all the time on the shows, we've been through it. We've had the experience. Two of us are certified life coaches, and we pass the information on to our third cohort, and we're there for you. We are not ashamed. We're very transparent with everything that we've brought to the table. And we're not here for ourselves. We're here for you. We're here to help you, guide you. If you need us to save you, like Margie says, she'll roll up with the baseball bat. She got your back for that. So the next thing that you really want to consider before dating is to trust your instincts. If you begin dating and you start to notice that things about your partner make you feel uncomfortable, red flag. You need to run for the hills. Don't just ignore those feelings. Your gut, you've been there, your gut is telling you that something is not right. Run for the hills. Don't minimize questionable behavior. Oh, that's just his personality. Oh, he'll come around. No. We are always trying to fix someone. And no, they're showing you up front who they are. And we're thinking that with our love and our kindness and our nurturing, we're going to change them. We're not changing anybody. People change because they want to change, not because of you, not because of anything. It comes from them. So if you feel that something isn't right, it probably isn't. You may want to sit with your partner and discuss how you're feeling and see what their reaction may be. If they don't like being confronted, boom, that's another sign. Run for the hills.
Yeah, if I may add to that, they say ask the uncomfortable questions early or during your 10-year, 20-year. If it's an uncomfortable question, ask the question and obviously know your partner in order to involve yourself in that question, to answer that question yourself, to be ready to answer it yourself.
We would love for our audience to interact.
To interaction. But remember, if you are afraid of their reaction by asking a question, well, that's number one. You don't need to be there. If they get angry and violent because you're questioning them, I don't care if it's did you pick up milk on the way home and they're getting upset to where'd you sleep last night. You know what? It's like God says, a sin is a sin. I can kill somebody, you can rob a candy from the store. It's a sin all the same. So if they're angry, if you ask if they went to the store to get milk, to where'd you sleep last night, it's the same thing. That anger shouldn't be there with just, for certain, those are valuable questions, right? And I think that communication is key. So, and if you feel you're walking on eggshells, then you know already you don't need to be there anymore. If you love them and they love you, but that mess is in the middle, then leave and seek help on both ends and then reconvene and see if it's going to work. But in the meantime, we're not here saying just leave. If it's abusive, it's abuse, it's abuse, it's abuse. No matter how you dress that pig, it's still a pig. So you need to know your value and say no mas.
We mentioned something really important yesterday, and it was once the lovey-dovey in love part of the relationship goes away or dies down, which it shouldn't, but if it does, what's left? If you don't have respect, if you still don't appreciate that person, if you have to walk on eggshells, if everything they do bothers you or vice versa, it's time to reevaluate that relationship because things get toxic quick.
But it's like in anything in our lives, individually, we must always reevaluate where we came from, where we're at, and does it match the goal we have to where we're going? So reevaluation of life should be like all the time. Reevaluate. Is this where I want to be? Where do I need to be today to get to where I have to go to tomorrow? And sometimes it's releasing that extra baggage that's not giving you the energy to want to strive for your dreams. that's making you have self-doubt about yourself that you can't accomplish those dreams. So, I mean, everybody's born for a purpose. There's nobody that's walking and breathing that doesn't have a purpose, but we allow things to cage us. And then the fear and the self-doubt and the lack of self-love sets in, and we go nowhere and we stay miserable. And is that the life you want? No. And if you're already out of it, I celebrate you. We all celebrate you. That's why we're here. Keep going. Don't look back.
Absolutely. The last thing on this list when it comes to dating after abuse is to practice safe dating. And this is not only after abuse, this is when you date at all. These, I believe in 100%. You don't want the person to pick you up at your home. You want to meet them in an open space. My space was Dunkin' Donuts or Connecticut Avenue, Post Road Diner. That's where I met all my dates. And you want to meet them there for, a few times, not just the first time. Don't bring them, don't get in the car with them, you don't know them. So you want to practice the safe dating. You want to spend time together in public, as I stated, and you want to make sure that you tell one of your girlfriends or one of your friends where you're at. And I never did this, but they say take a picture of the license plate. I never did that. So those are things that go hand in hand with practicing safe dating. Those were in my days when I was meeting people on Match.com, Plenty of Fish, when I was alone for like 10 years. And these are exactly the things that I followed, when online dating. And it turns out that it's one of the things that they tell you to do after being in an abusive relationship and you're starting to date.
Yes, don't get encouraged. Listen, Lillian, you just invoked a memory that I had buried since I was like 19, like you're talking about. And I was like, oh my God. And I just sing El Morro. When I was 19, I went to Puerto Rico with Tiffany. She was 2, right? And I took a cab to my family's house 2 hours away from San Juan. And then I had to take a cab back to the airport with my daughter, right? And so we got to one point, and then we had to change cabs. And then I shared a cab with a couple. So, but they got off. They had to be at the airport or somewhere before. I don't know what happened. It was so long ago. Anyway, all of a sudden, the taxi, I'm in the front, Tiffany's in my arms, and we're driving, and I see him going to like the Viejo San Juan, and it's my first trip ever to Puerto Rico. All of a sudden, he parks by, and all I can see is El Morro, and I had a braid on that day, and he literally grabbed my braid, pulled me towards him, and was ready over my daughter to start touching me. Oh my God, I fist fought that taxi right there with my daughter in hand. But I made him take me to the airport, and then I reported when I got to the airport. But you just invoked that memory. So that's like a total stranger here. I look young. Yeah, I was young. I was 19.
Driver.
With the 2-year-old. But the thing is, yes, in dating in those sites, that's just so imperative that you say that. And whoever's listening and you're going on a date, follow it. Follow your gut, but then follow just common sense. You don't know them. They might smile nice. They might smell good. They might look good in whatever they have on. But you know what? You don't know them from Adam. So that absolutely do not get in the car with them. Meet them somewhere else. I love that you said that.
Every now and then I get some good ones out. The last one. And sometimes I think that people are so desperate for love that they don't realize how valuable they are, and they don't take things slow. So you want to make sure that you really get to know yourself. You really get to know your partner. You really give him the chance to know you. You want to develop a trusting partnership where both of you know that the relationship is mutually beneficial to both of you, that it's healthy for both of you, that you can respect each other. You should feel good about the pace of the relationship. If the person is like within a month, he's into you, wants to move in with you, red flags, run for the hills. It takes a long time to get to know someone. And unfortunately, in the Latino community, they like tell you they love you in 1 month, and by month 6, you're married. And in the American culture, you're living with the person for 7 years before they ask you to marry them. So I cannot express enough how important it is to get to know each other, get to trust each other, respect each other. And Margarita's gonna go and give you an explanation about trusting each other.
Well, yes, trusting each other. Give me a little intro as to what I said, Lillian. I have a lot going on.
We were talking about how everyone gives in so easily. Everyone is ready to throw the towel in so easily and not really work.
Not work at it. And, we're so quick. And I can say women, men are just at fault, but I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective. We're so quick to say, oh, I can't believe he did that. He did this. Let's talk about, that's what we were talking about yesterday, Francia. And it was about cheating. When a man cheats, and when we think that we control the household and we have a man there and we start speaking to them as though they're a child, they're going to go and do something. So when all is said and done and you're getting ready to heal, to start your next step in life and what may, think about what role did you play in the demise of that relationship? Because when you speak down, whether a man too, a woman would stay longer. For some reason, we're such nurturers. And we tend to stay because maybe it's going to work this time. Let me try this tactic or whatever. That's sometimes our thought. But when we demasculate a man by telling them, oh, you're lazy, you're not working, you still haven't found a job, you do this, it also causes and raises havoc in the house. Correct? Is this what we were talking about? Because we talked about it a lot. Yes. But this is very important because a lot of us, on top of that, we're victims. We stay with the stigma that we are victims and we forget what was our role in a lot of the things. Let's say you are in an abusive relationship and all you did was love this person and you stayed for whatever reason you stayed. It's you still place yourself in that danger zone, right? And if you don't have family or you couldn't trust family, there are outlets. And if the fear is there, then you would reach out to somebody. I don't want to sound like I'm being mean to anybody who's been in domestic situations. But I'm saying there's always an outlet. There's always an outlet to do something. When you're in a relationship, before you end it, sit back and ask yourself, did I exhaust all my options in this? Especially if it's not if it's more a verbal or emotional abuse on either part, because remember, we play a role in it as well. Did you exhaust all of it? Did we communicate clearly? Did we set our boundaries? Am I on line, Lil?
Yeah.
Is this what you're talking about? Okay. So we have to question ourselves before we call it quits. Exhaust all your options, because sometimes when something is meant for you, we're quick to just throw in the towel. If you've already been there and the red flags are like slapping you in the face, swinging in the air, then yes, run for the hills, like Lillian says, and there's nothing for you to do there. But I think sometimes we, even if it's just for ourselves and not the other party, if you know that you exhausted all your options, guess what happens? And you leave, your healing is much easier. Your frame of mind is a bit more clearer because you're not with the maybe si me quedara, this or this or that, and all those shoulda, coulda, woulda is what really, really digs our hole deeper in anything we're going in. So just make sure you exhausted all your options, and if you did, and it's really bad, and you are the victim who you could just be cooking and they come and hit you, of course, run. If they call you names and you're just serving dinner, of course, run. But if it's some form of lack of communication that maybe one of you have to say, let's just sit down, let's just breathe. What are you feeling? And don't interrupt. And then when it's your turn and they go to interrupt, stop them. No interrupting. And then, ¿cómo es que se dice refrán? En guerra avisada no muere nadie. Am I off course? Because you're just looking at me. I think that in order for us to heal, we need to truly understand what our role was in the relationship that either ended or is about to end. Mm-hmm. In order for you to heal, you must know exactly where were you at in that movie. What was your role? Were you the main character? Or were you just playing fill-in? You have to know what your role is, because then you can understand who you are as you're walking away. And the healing, it's much easier, and the understanding of who you are and what you will and will not tolerate going forward will be of great benefits to your success going forward, because that's what we want in success. It doesn't matter where we came from, it's where we are in the present and knowing where we're going. And that's in anything in life. Horrible relationships, horrible jobs, it doesn't matter.
I'm going to reel it back in a little bit. So we're talking about dating after a relationship. And the reason that we got on this subject was we were talking about no one should feel forced or guilty into moving in with someone. But then we went on to speak about infidelity. So I'd like to ask the audience, and if some of you would answer, do you believe that infidelity is a form of abuse? I personally think it is. I think it is mental abuse. And this is where Margarita went and talked about why she felt that some people may get abused or some people may get cheated on. That is where she was going with that conversation. So in the audience, tell us, do you think that infidelity is a form of abuse?
And if you do, that's what I'm saying. First, know where was your role, because a lot of us are innocent in it. We're just but you need to know where your role is so that you can be less victimized.
Yes. Now, also going back to the trust issues after relationships, mm-hmm. or getting back into relationships. Mm-hmm. So again, the key here is, like Margarita said, is know where you were in that relationship, what caused the man to cheat, right? What was your role in it? And yes, it's hard to trust all over again. But you do, once you take that time to self-heal, to understand if you did play a part in it or if you didn't, there's nothing wrong with you. It was the guy taking part on whatever he wanted to do at the time, because he was completely abusing the relationship and you. Then all those things are good to know in order to move on and to trust someone again. And then again, you seek help. You can't do it all on your own. You can't heal all by yourself. Yes, it takes time. You can do it. But if you want to heal faster, you want to surround yourself with others that went through it, with coaches, therapists that will help you pinpoint those areas that you need to focus on. For me, it was focus on what you do right, and you didn't do anything wrong, and I was analyzing it with my therapist. So at that point, you also, if you are in a relationship and you don't want to ruin that relationship because you're bringing trust issues with you, again, even after you thought you were healed, then you want to be sure you seek that help, so you don't ruin that next relationship.
As I stated earlier, two of us are certified life coaches, and one of us, all three of us through our experience have been helping a multitude of people. You can send us a message if you're interested in speaking to one of us. I have listed at the bottom of the screen our 1-800 number. We all each have our own extensions. If you want to speak to one of us individually, you're more than welcome to do so. We are here for you and to help you. Please do not forget that. Another thing that I wanted to bring to people's attention was your partner when you're dating, when you start to date, and after you feel to the point where you're comfortable enough with them and you want to move on to the next level of to actually having a sexual relationship with them. What do you tend to do if your partner is using your sexual history against you?
Go ahead, Margarita.
I think you shouldn't tell them. It's none of their business what you did before them. And that's the biggest mistake women make. They run their mouth, want to share all their life story with somebody that had nothing to do with their life story. Because everything that happened to you before you met this partner prepared you to be with this partner. And that's such a misconception. I'll put it out there. It's not your business what he did before you. And it sure as hell ain't his business what you did before him. Because it don't matter what century we're in, men still feel that they can be players, and women, if they do the same, are whores. So let's call it for what it is. I just feel that whatever you did prior to being with the person you're with now, it's none of their business, and don't share it, because you know what? Even the nicest of men, and I'm talking to you from experience, because you know me, I don't care, have said stuff to me afterwards, and I'm like, excuse you? We don't do that. And I'm telling you through experience, because I did, you do not share. It is not their business. And that is the biggest mistake we make. And then we're feeling like, oh, I can't believe you hurt me with my past. Who told them your past? So I just think we need to be grown-ups when we enter a relationship. That's the first step in that relationship. Lo que pasó, pasó en tu vida privada. That's private. This is the person that you're with, so you create stuff with them going forward. And Marilee said yes, and I wanted to say that because you asked anybody if they wanted to pitch in earlier and say something, and she said yes, but she didn't say anything. So I want to put it out to the audience. And Beatty, I know you're out there. Richie, from a male's perspective, he says I beg to differ, which is awesome. Let's form a communication. That's how we open it. How important is communication.
Richard, tell us why you beg to defer.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And obviously, if I want to maybe pick Richard's brain before he answers, we're not saying hide anything important, right? As health issues. Your kids, again, be honest of where you came from. So I'm not going to tell him lies, but we're not going to keep secrets. It's just, this is who I am. This is what I come with, head to toe, all around. And let's move forward. Let's build. What are our intentions moving forward? There's no need for me to know and dwell and have in the back of my conscience that he slept with 20 women. You know, as of whether you're effed up or not, or whether you have trust issues or not, is going to play out in your bedroom. Is going to play out, you know, if his phone dies, you know, things like that. So it's not healthy. It's not healthy to bring negative stuff into. And yes, if you slept with multiple partners in the past, it's not healthy to bring them into your future.
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that, because that is exactly it.
And if you were my boyfriend in high school or, you know, in my 20s, we were just friends.
Yeah, that's all it was, because it was silly. But I don't think any sexual
childhood friends,
any sexual past should not be brought into discuss with this new man or woman in your life right now. No, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for your soul.
It's nice. It's let's talk about what we want to do together. Let's talk about our future, our intentions, where we want to go, what we have right now, our foundation, what we're going to build on. Let's do that. Why? I don't care, you know. And don't bring the best friends and the girlfriends and my girl best friends.
We've spoken so much this evening about the 5 different things that people should consider when moving on to dating. Now, my next question is, where do you draw the line when you say make it work or let it go?
When the disrespect is when it's disrespectfulness, whether it's you and them in the kitchen, whether it's you and them in the car, or kids are involved, when it's him or her hanging up on you in the middle of a conversation, not returning calls or texts, all of that, they're telltale signs that it's a facade and it's time to just pasar página.
When it's clear, it's not a two-way street.
No,
it's one way. You know, when the mutual feelings and effort is just one-sided. It's clear. Like, again, I would love to teach and talk to girls and teens, but when we're talking to adult women, you know, it's common. It's like common sense is not that common, and it's sad. But again, we have to hear it. We have to, you know, communicate, educate each other, learn to open your mind, your heart to these things, because you close your mind and your heart to these things because you don't want to hear them, because like you said, it was, oh no, he's going to change, you know, he's going to do. So you are telling yourself the opposite. So you don't want to hear anything else that your mom, your friends, your life, your kids are begging you not to go back with that man. They're begging you. We don't like that man, mommy. And you're like, oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. Go live with your dad. And I'm just speaking on something that just happened to my son's friend. Yeah. And that's just sad. That's sad for you to choose a man's weakness, a man's and they're not even it's not even the father of the kids. Not as that justifies it, but you're telling your kids this person comes first.
Well, remember too, that's wrong. That's wrong because I lived with that. I was raised by a mom like that. And it's wrong on all levels. But then I have the hindsight view of it where I can say she had low self-esteem. You know, she was weak in that sense where she needed to be loved. So she hung on to the one thing she had. Yeah, she had us, but it wasn't that type of love. And that's where Ajusta Tu Corona comes in, to empower and enrich the women to gain that self-compassion, self-esteem, and self-love. Because although we're women and we're strong, there's many that haven't reached that level yet or don't know how to get there. And that's why they stay. So we can't, we can, but we're not, because we have come from many different backgrounds of meeting many different women and knowing that some of them just don't know how to climb that next ring on the ladder. And that's where women like us and many women in the audience right now have to remind ourselves of that, because Lillian said it in one of our first ones. We're never going to tell them, oh, if you go back to them, don't call me no more. That was my mindset, because I went to the opposite side of the spectrum, to where I viewed her through my child's eye, taking her men before us. You understand? So I went to the opposite. So I thought I had the ding-a-ling hanging and I was the man of the house and you couldn't tell me shit. And when what happens? It ends, right? So I think as Ajusta Tu Corona queens, that is what we do. So thank you for bringing that up, because we do have to, take off our rose-colored glasses of strength and empowerment and remember that we're here to inspire women to rise above it, and raise the bar on their lives.
Exactly.
We have, I'm sorry. We have Iritza who wrote, and a lot of the abuse that we're speaking about is partnership abuse. But she's saying that her mom gets hung up on. My mom tells me I'm being mean because I block his number. Yeah, and by the way, this is my adult child. So abuse can come from your family also. It doesn't have to be from a domestic partner. Iritza.
Iritza. And she said her son?
Correct. Her adult son was the abuser. It wasn't a lover. It wasn't a man. It wasn't a partner. It was somebody in her family. So when we try to build people, we're building the individual so that they can recognize how strong they are. We're building them a little bit at a time so that they can realize their potential in life, how amazing they are, how exceptional they are, so that they get the strength to be able to resist all of this abuse. And so that is our purpose in life.
Yes, and we know it takes time, and we know that epiphany moment will come as you, right, at the right time, at the hearing the right thing or experiencing the right thing, whether how wrong it is, but it will come. Just again, you have to put yourself closer to that moment if you really want it in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it'll take a while. I'm sorry, Lillian, but she said I also grew up in an abusive home as a child. So, when you're raised with guilt and then el ay bendito, as it was in her case, they grew up to be entitled and abusive. But we Latina women tend to do that to our men. And in the Latino culture alone, el niño siempre crece mimado, where the girl has to always do the dishes and the boy, él es nene, no tiene que limpiar. And so the difference is already there, right? As you're being raised. I don't know too much about this culture. I didn't raise my son like that. But, a lot of the boys were raised that way. The girls had to clean because you're girls, and the boys didn't have to as much. So then we take on that role as wives and partners. And then when we start saying, come on, I'm tired of picking up your clothes. And then that's where it starts getting ugly and the abuse starts. Oh, you can't tell, you're not my mother, blah, blah, blah. And then it just gets because you let it happen for so long too. So it's not that you're wrong. It's not that you're weak. It's sometimes things come to a head. And you got to realize, is this my out? And then you stay longer and stuff happens. but there's always a way out, and there's always a way to heal, and there's always people to go to. And now you have the three of us with that phone number Lillian posted. We each have our extensions. Whatever we talk about, it's always private. If we need to come collectively as a group to find resources to help you, then no, there'll be a disclaimer that the three of us are going to gather and discuss your situation so that we can find the best solutions for you. But there's always an out. There's always a door. There's always a place for you to find safety. And I hope that you find that comfort in Ajusta Tu Corona, because that is what we are. We are a safe haven. It's the sunflower.
Correct.
Sunflower.
And for the mothers, right? For the mothers with young daughters, and obviously the sons are welcome to these Facebook Lives or workshops too in the future. Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
I'm going to speak on it in a little bit.
Okay. And as far as just being keeping in mind that it starts young, and even if they have not experienced it, it's good for them to know that is out there, and to, again, not overprotect them. Oh, I don't want her to hear that, or I don't want to, because she never experienced it, but it's not about putting something negative in her. It's about teaching her how to be a young lady in life, and not make the same mistakes that we made or that some of women made, because we don't want them to hurt. So we want them to be prepared for life.
So I'm going to go back and read Richard's comment. So he said, sexual past is important for couples because it's an early red flag for the potential to cheat years down the road. Women nowadays are having a hard time pair bonding because of extreme promiscuous behavior. When they're finally ready to settle down, they have a hard time finding someone. They also have a hard time sticking it out in relationships because of the cycle of partners can continue, even when they are bored. Men and women need to be honest with themselves when it comes to finding a potential mate. Even after the abuse, both will run and find the next in order not to have to deal with their issues.
Beautifully said. Now, back to the sharing your sexual past, it has nothing to do with, and I'm going to disagree if that was towards that comment or our suggestion. Again, the key word here was be honest with yourself. That person's going to cheat whether they share how many partners they slept with. If they are if they are an HOE, it doesn't matter if she tells you or not. She could tell you and still cheat. She could be honest with her. Is that self-honesty, who you are, what your intentions are before going into a relationship, period. And again, it's not your job as my new man. If I tell you I slept with 20 men, can you fix me? And, can you save a hoe? No. I'm not telling you how many men I slept with for you to fix me or to throw it in my face. I'm going to be honest with myself, with my past, and know who I am today to move forward, to give my best to myself and that other person.
Well said. Well said. Whew.
Ditto.
Let's make that a little bit personal, Richard. What you got?
No, I can understand Richard's point of view, because Richard doesn't have the mentality like the masses of the men out there. Richard carries a deep kindness in his heart, but he carries a deep kindness in his heart. So he's not going to look at it as to what it is. But yeah, there's a higher percentage of men that will hold it against you, Richard, than there is a percentage of men like you out there. So they will, even like the meekest man that you can find will come up with something, or something will happen, you're changing your behavior, and right away they're going to go thinking maybe it's something like this. Or no, I think it's not a secret. I'm not lying to you, because if you ask me, I'm going to tell you that's not your business. If you have a problem because you want to open up the closets of my life and take a peek inside, that's your curiosity killing you, not my answer telling you no. So that's also what you have to figure out. And if you're so stuck on my past, then my present isn't wanted and I'm out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we would like to thank the audience for joining Conversations with Ajusta Tu Corona, where we speak of achievement, tenacity, and courage. As I stated at the beginning of the recording before all of you were on, this is going to wrap up our domestic violence series. We are now going to go into a self-love series. So we have spoken to you about all of the signs, children of abuse, dating after abuse, and anything that we can think of that has to do with domestic violence. Now we're going to help to build you. So we are going to go into our self-love series and help to build you. On that, I want to let you know that the mission of Ajusta Tu Corona is to empower women of abuse, whether it be mental, physical, financial. We want to be there for you. And we're going to do that by inspiring, motivating, and educating you. Our vision, my dream, and my cohorts who are helping me build this vision is that we are going to open a center called the Sunflower Center. And the reason it's called the Sunflower Center is because sunflowers face the sun to get their energy. When the sun is not out, they turn in to their tribe and face each other and receive the energy off of each other. So as a tribe, that is what we are here for you, so that when you do not have the energy on your own, you can face your tribe, and we will be here to help you come out of your struggle. So in the future, not quite yet, we're not ready, we will be offering private coaching lessons online that will be called the Safe Haven. Those we are going to charge for, not because we want to get paid, but because we want to see our vision go to fruition for other women out there in the world. So for now, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you in 2 weeks. Our next one is assessing self-love, how to get rid of the anxiousness. And we will have a guest speaker, Maritza Figueroa, who is another certified life coach, will be joining us to discuss this subject. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Buenas noches.